Welcome, everyone. Sometimes, it's not a big moment that changes your life, but a few quiet words that stay with you. For me, it started when I met an old friend I hadn't seen in years. Morning sunlight leaked through the curtains, soft and slow. I woke up late again. My phone said 10:47. Another morning, already halfway gone. The city outside was alive. I could hear cars, footsteps, the sound of life moving. But inside my small apartment, everything was still. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and stared at my desk. Laptop, coffee mug from last night, half-eaten snack, and my to-do list. I hadn't done most of it. Freelance work was supposed to be freedom. That's what people said online. Work anytime, anywhere, be your own boss. But no one told me that freedom without discipline feels a lot like drifting. Sometimes I edited short videos for clients. Sometimes I coded small projects for extra cash. The money wasn't bad. It was enough to live quietly. The truth was, I didn't even pay rent. My parents did. They said, focus on building your future first. And I told myself I was trying. But most days I just stared at the screen, scrolling, watching other people create, travel, succeed. Meanwhile, I was here, in this small studio on the 8th floor, pretending to be busy. I didn't have to worry about rent or food. My parents never complained. Maybe that's why it was so easy to waste time. Comfort can be dangerous sometimes. I made instant coffee and stood by the window. The city was wide and full of energy. People were rushing to work, holding their phones, calling taxis, crossing streets. I watched them like I was behind glass, part of the world but not really in it. Sometimes I told myself this was just a phase, that I was resting, that I would figure it out soon. But soon had been 2 years already. I opened my laptop and checked my inbox. Nothing new. Then I checked my social media. Everyone seemed to be moving forward, with jobs, travels, and weddings. I scrolled until I felt tired, then closed it. The room was quiet again. Only the sound of my fridge and my thoughts. There's something strange about silence. It can feel peaceful one moment, and heavy the next. That morning, it felt heavy. I tried to start a new project, a short video I had been meaning to finish for a client. But halfway through I stopped. My mind drifted. I opened YouTube. Then another tab. Then another. Hours disappeared without me noticing. When I finally looked at the clock, it was already 3 p.m. The same feeling came again, a mix of guilt and numbness. I told myself I would do better tomorrow. But I had said that yesterday too. I made noodles, ate them in silence, and went back to scrolling. The day passed quietly. At night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. There was a small crack above my desk. I used to imagine it looked like a road, leading somewhere. Lately, it just looked like nothing. I thought about the person I wanted to be. Someone creative. Someone who made things that mattered. But right now, I was just someone waiting for something, for motivation, for inspiration, for life to start again. I closed my eyes. The room hummed softly with the sound of the city outside. I told myself, tomorrow will be different. It almost never was. The next morning felt the same. Quiet. Slow. Heavy in the same familiar way. I was eating cereal when my phone buzzed. A new message on Instagram. Hey, it's Brian. Remember me? Let's catch up. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Brian? That name pulled me back to a different time. We hadn't seen each other since high school. Back then, Brian was quiet. Not a top student. Not popular either. Just an ordinary guy who used to borrow my notes and thank me too many times. I smiled a little, remembering his shy grin. I hadn't thought about him in years. We exchanged a few messages. He was in the city for work and asked if I wanted to grab coffee that afternoon. I said yes before I could talk myself out of it. When I looked around my apartment, I realized how still it was. Same mug, same desk, same silence. Meeting someone suddenly felt like a big event. At 2 p.m., I took the train downtown. It was warm outside, and the air smelled like traffic and roasted coffee beans from a cafe nearby. The city moved fast around me, but I felt like I was watching a movie in slow motion. I arrived a bit early. The cafe was quiet, filled with soft music and the smell of roasted beans. I found a seat near the window. A few minutes later, Brian walked in. He looked different, but not completely. Same calm face, same soft eyes. But now there was something else, a kind of steady energy. He spotted me and smiled. "Hey, man! It's been a long time." We shook hands and sat down. His grip felt firm, confident. "You look the same," I said. He laughed. "You too. Maybe a bit more tired, though." I smiled awkwardly. He wasn't wrong. We ordered coffee and started talking. At first, it was light, about where we lived, what we were doing, and old classmates we hadn't seen in years. Then slowly, the conversation shifted. "So, what do you do now?" he asked. "I freelance. Mostly video editing. Sometimes small programming projects." I tried to sound proud. He nodded. "That sounds nice. Do you enjoy it?" I hesitated. "It's fine. It pays the bills, kind of." Brian smiled slightly. "Kind of?" I shrugged. "It's flexible. I can work whenever I want." Then I added, "But sometimes that means I just don't work." He looked at me for a second, not judging, just listening. "I get that," he said. "Freedom can be tricky." I was surprised by how easy it felt to talk to him. There was no pressure. No fake smiles. Just quiet honesty. He told me about his work. He had joined a small company after college, but later started his own thing, teaching kids about coding and technology. He said it wasn't easy, but it was meaningful. "It's funny," he added. "I used to think I needed everything figured out before I started. But it turns out, starting is what helps you figure things out." I nodded slowly. His words felt heavier than they sounded. We talked for over an hour. Then there was a pause. The kind of silence that isn't uncomfortable, but real. Brian looked out the window for a moment, then turned to me. "You know," he said softly, "you're wasting time, and you know it." I froze. The noise of the cafe faded for a second. He didn't say it in a harsh way. His voice was calm, almost kind. But the words hit deep, like a truth I had been avoiding for too long. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, then at my half-empty cup. He didn't push further. After a while, he smiled. "Sorry if that sounded rude," he said. "It's just, I've been there. I know how it feels." I shook my head. "No, it's okay." Because it was. He was right. We finished our coffee and talked a bit more lighter again. When we said goodbye, he patted my shoulder and smiled. "Take care of yourself, man. Don't sleep on your own life." I nodded. Those words stayed with me even after he left. As I walked back to the train station, I felt different. Not sad, not angry. Just awake. The sun was setting between tall buildings, and the wind carried a faint smell of coffee and rain. I kept hearing his voice in my head. "You're wasting time, and you know it." That night, I couldn't sleep easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his calm expression. I knew he wasn't trying to hurt me. He was just saying what I already knew. Outside, the city was quiet. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling again. The same small crack. The same silence. But it felt different now. Brian's words were still in my head. They moved slowly, like echoes. You're wasting time, and you know it. It wasn't the kind of sentence you forget. It was the kind that stays, like a small stone in your shoe. Not painful enough to stop you, but impossible to ignore. I turned on my phone and opened our chat again. His last message was simple: glad we met. Let's not lose touch this time. I typed sure, but didn't send it yet. Instead, I scrolled through his profile. Photos of him teaching, smiling with kids, small projects, community events. He didn't look rich or famous. But he looked alive. That word, alive, hit me harder than anything. I put my phone down and looked around my room. Laptop on the desk. Camera I hadn't used in months. A notebook I once bought for ideas. Still empty. The walls felt closer than usual. I sat up and opened the notebook. The first page was blank, but the paper was slightly yellow now. I touched it with my hand, as if it might remind me of who I was before. When I was younger, I had dreams. Not just about money or success, but about creating things that meant something. I wanted to tell stories. To make things that helped people feel something real. Somewhere along the way, I stopped trying. Maybe because I was scared of failing. Or maybe because comfort made failure unnecessary. I closed my eyes and remembered the version of me from years ago. The one who stayed up late learning, excited to improve. That person felt far away now. But not gone. Just quiet. I stood up and looked out the window. The city lights spread wide and far. Thousands of lives moving forward while I stood still. Brian's face came back to my mind, calm, certain, and peaceful. He had simply kept moving while I stayed still. I sighed and leaned my forehead against the cold glass. I get it, I whispered to myself. I've been sleeping on my own life. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel sleepy. My body was tired, but my mind was awake. Awake in a quiet, painful, but necessary way. I sat at my desk again and opened my laptop. The screen glowed in the dark room. I opened a blank document. No plan. No big idea. Just a blank page. And for once, I didn't feel scared of it. I started typing something small, a few random thoughts about the day, about Brian, and about time. The words were simple and messy, but they were mine. When I stopped, an hour had passed. I didn't even notice. It wasn't much, but it was something. Something that felt real. Before going to bed, I looked at the notebook again. I wrote one sentence on the first page: start, even if it's small. Then I closed it gently. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the curtains. Soft. Warm. Quiet. I woke up earlier than usual. No alarm, no plan. Just a strange kind of calm. The city outside was already alive. Cars. Voices. The smell of fried rice from the street vendor. The usual things. But today, they felt new somehow. I stretched, then sat at my desk. The notebook was still there, waiting. I opened it again. Start, even if it's small. I smiled when I saw it. So I did. I opened my laptop and started editing a short video I had filmed months ago but never finished. Nothing special, just a random clip of the city, the rain, and people walking under umbrellas. But as I worked, I felt that quiet focus again. An hour passed. Then two. The sun climbed higher, filling the room with light. When I finally pressed save, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, not pride or excitement. Just peace. The kind of peace that comes from doing what you were supposed to do all along. I leaned back and took a deep breath. The air felt lighter. Maybe Brian was right. Maybe I had been wasting time. But the truth is, everyone does sometimes. We all fall asleep in our own lives and forget to wake up. The important thing is, we can always start again. Later that day, I messaged Brian. Hey, I finished something today. Thanks for the talk. He replied not long after. Good. Keep going. Time's only wasted if you don't learn from it. I smiled. Then I opened my window. The sound of the city filled the room, with laughter, traffic, and life. Everything is moving forward. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was moving too. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you liked the story, kindly like, subscribe, comment, and share. Keep going, be kind to yourself, and see you again on Stories by the Window.